Okay, just want to, as we are coming to close the end of the series of the Exodus, I just would like us know where we are right now before I just come to the main point which I want to show you. If I can control it. Okay. Hold on, I can't get the slide I want. Can you show me the slide that where the road, another one? Okay, so just to show us where we are right now. Okay, never mind. Help me to control because this iPad also give me a lot of error message. Okay, so that's where we are. Likely is that they cross over the other side of the Red Sea. And that's where the Mount Sinai, of course, the traditional is not Mount Sinai is somewhere in the tips of this Sinai Peninsula. The problem is it's still within the Egyptian territory. So Israel had to get out of the Egyptian territory, and likely they cross over the other side of, known also as Mount Sinai. And today it's called Saudi Arabia. Revd is there. So a couple of days before they reach the main mountain is where they receive the law of God, right? So the distance is not that far away. So just to give us a little bit of context where they are right now. Okay, so let's go back to the wilderness page. Okay, never mind. Okay. So today, I just want to share with us the Exodus to Encounter. So this is the title of the sermon, Exodus to Encounter. When God brought the people of Israel out of Egypt, He didn't take them straight into Canaan. The milk and honey were waiting there for them. But He led them through the wilderness. You know, I've been into a Judea's wilderness. For those who have been in Israel, you know how it is like. So this is a picture I took. Where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered by the shepherd boy in 1948, and they just threw the stone into the hole, and they heard the crack sound, and that's where they discovered the Dead Sea Scroll. The place is very rough and barren, and it's very uncomfortable even if you stay a couple of hours because it's hot and dry. So just can't imagine that people have been there for not just days, weeks, months, and 40 years. I'm sure that people in Israel had some very rough experiences there. So why did God do this? Why did God, instead of, brought them out of Egypt, why not go into the Canaan, but let them through the wilderness? Not for the same reason that as He leaves us on earth after we become Christian. Why doesn't He take us straight to glory? I believe that we are ready to go, and we would love to go. It would be nice to step into heaven as soon as we were converted. But He leaves us on earth. From time to time, our experience here as a bit of wilderness, and we've been Christian for years. I believe you agree what I say. For years, I discovered the profound truth: the wilderness is where we learn. It is where Jesus Himself learned. He learned obedience by the things He suffered. So where did He suffer to learn obedience? 6 weeks in the wilderness after His baptism. So Christians have the wilderness following their baptism. And they will have the battles. It's guaranteed. We will have our battles to fight. They will have the kind of experiences that Israel had. So let me sum up with the important lessons from Israel's experiences in you're supposed to read chapters 17 and 18. It's supposed to be these 2 chapters, so I have to select these 3 events to let us see, to help us to understand what actually God is saying to us this morning. From 17 to 18, I sum up with just 2 simple sentence. Lessons that you learn in the wilderness is how to follow God's instructions. That's a simple lesson as this. When you follow God's instructions, things work out right. When you follow your own thinking, things go badly. I think it's a profound lesson they learned through their journey in the wilderness. So today, let us explore from Exodus to encounter by focusing on the important movement in the people of Israel's journey from captivities to freedom. In Exodus chapter 17, verse 7, is where we witness the people of Israel. They were very thirsty in the wilderness, grappling with doubt and fear. I'm sure they are. And they were. And this is where they ask, is the Lord among us or not? But what does this movement truly signify their journey? How does it encapsulate their experience of trials, triumphs, doubts, and divine interventions? How does God's unwavering presence shine forth amidst of their struggles, revealing His steadfast love and provision? So let us uncover three important truths as we go into those questions. Now, three events we just heard this morning, three events through the 17 and 18, chapter 17 and 18. In the valley of Rehadim, thirsty overtakes the people. Thirst is the worse than hunger. You can go days without food, no issue. People who are always diet, no issue. But 3 days without water, you got into trouble. And 1 day without water, I got migraine. And half a day, actually. It is a terrible killer. This can happen spiritually, and you will get to the promised land, no issue. But the problem is that we will go through our wilderness in order to get into the end place, is where God led us into a promised land. All of us will have to go through the wilderness. And there will be a time when you are dry, and there will be a time that you are thirsty, and there will be a time also we are going through the dry patches. Every Christian encounters such dry patches. So the question is, how do you get through it? Like the people of Israel, they may be tempted to test God. They tempted to test God, and we also tempted to test God's patience through our complaints and grumbling, exactly like Singaporeans. No different. We are your human beings. To thank God is not to try to make Him do something wrong, but to thank Him is to try to make Him do something right. When God do the right thing, you have to get out of the way. Because the Bible says that He is a consuming fire. I just read through the book of Numbers. Every time, all that God has done for the people of Israel, when they face impossible, God brought the miracle, and they still complain. And they still longing for this garlic bread. I'm thinking of garlic. And to the point that God told Moses and Aaron, get out of the way, I'm going to destroy the entire generation. When God do the right thing, you have to get out of the way. But thank God for Moses and Aaron, they interceded for the people. And God spared that generation. Of those, they have to go through the 40 years, and they died there, the next generation will enter into the promised land. So we must not push in too far. The place his name, when they tested God and water came out of the rock. And there's a place called Massah. It served as a warning against doubting God's promises. So just as Moses took the rock and he struck the dry red sandstone of the valley of Revd, and finding water to quench the people's thirst, I will also find our sustenance in Jesus. He is our source of strength. When we are hungry and thirst, Christ provides. He's offering us a spring of water running up to eternal life. And that is the answer to the thirst. Remember, Jesus says that blesses those who hunger and thirst. This means that those who hunger and thirst will be filled. If you have never hungered for more of Jesus, if you have never hungered and thirst for more of the Holy Spirit, you have yet to experience true satisfaction. Not just as people of Israel found fulfillment in the Rock of Ages, I believe that you too can find all you need in Jesus and Him alone. I believe that we try our own way and we always head to a dead end. But only Jesus can satisfy us when you come to Him with your hunger and thirst. So friends, in our journey through life's wilderness, let's remember that despite challenges we face, God's constant presence sustains us and guides us. So I just want to encourage us that let us continue to seek Him in our hunger and thirst and find real satisfaction. I talk about real satisfaction and fulfillment in His provision. My hunger and thirst led me to encounter with the Lord, encounter the Lord in the early hour in the morning when I was in Jerusalem a few years ago. And that changed from the inside out. It was where I found my identity and purpose. 2 years ago, I had another one, and this is a place where I was in Nazareth. And I thought that it's going to be like a same encounter I had, but it's not the same. God never worked the same way. God always worked in a small, still voice. The message was clear to me. I just passed through the certain place. A banner was there, and it just rang in my ears. And I asked the Lord, what should I do? He said, follow me. The next question we need to ask is, how does God's guidance, as demonstrated in Moses' encounter with Amalekites, illuminate our own paths through uncertainty? Or how does it encapsulate our experience of trials, triumphs, doubts, divine interventions? From the first time now, the people of Israel faced direct attack. If you follow through the story, it's the first time now people of Israel first faced direct attack from their enemies, Amalekites. And who are these Amalekites? If you do some study and you trace back, Amalek was the grandson of Esau. The historical tension between Jacob and Esau is found in its continuation in its conflict. It went right down until finally 2,000 years ago, that when Jacob came Jesus and Esau came Herod. When Jesus and Herod face off, Jesus has nothing to say to Herod. These are the most terrible things. Literally, nothing to say to Herod. You just imagine when we meet up with God and God had nothing to say to us. The most scary part. Until today, Jacob's and Esau's of this world are always in tension. An ongoing struggle between those who live by faith in the future, the next world, and those who consume by the present. So Amalekites, rather than engaging in direct confrontation to confront the people of Israel, you know what they did? They targeted and attacked the stragglers. You can find it in Deuteronomy chapter 25, verses 17 to 19. Who are the stragglers? They're people in the group who became separated from the others because of moving more slowly. And likely the elderly one, senior, find it very difficult to keep up with the pace with the main body. So they are the people who walk a little bit slower. Maybe parents with young children, or people who are handicapped, or people like me who injured my back, you cannot walk fast. So there are people who lag behind. And Amalekites attack from the rear, beat them one by one and kill them. That's purely evil. So recognizing the need for unity, and Moses readied the community for decisive battle. And this shows us the importance of tackling challenges together. Not Moses' problem, but the whole community work together to tackle this problem, this challenge. I want to notice one thing. God's directives for the people to fight marked a transition from God fighting their battles to their active participation in spiritual warfare. All these years, and all this while that God had been fighting their battles in Egypt. And now the first time God instructed them to not just to face off with Amalekites, to fight them. So, for example, in the beginning of our Christian life, yes, God will fight your battles. We always say that these are honeymoon periods in our Christian life. All these challenges, when we pray, God answers our prayer instantly. All battles always won. Never delay. But later on, He expects us to fight. He expects us to pray and seek His face. If we don't receive our prayer immediately, sometimes it takes years to hear from Him. And it is a part of our growing up, learning obedience and also trusting Him. So there are two things needed in the battlefield. Two things. Just imagine I don't have the tool with me. One is they had to carry the sword. The sword is where the people used to fight. On the other hand, they had to carry the staff, the rod. Right, so imagine that. And of course, you do a little bit study, you know that Israel in those days, they are late Bronze Age. And they came out from Egypt. They don't have much of the weapon. Most of them are all shepherds and farmers, so they use whatever tools they have. The tools are not made in cast iron, all in bronze. So they use that simple tools to fight the enemies. And of course, throughout the whole history, that's why the Israel can never be able to overcome Philistine. Because Philistines are the one who have the cast iron technology, but not the people of Israel. So Saul and Jonathan, they have the proper equipment, but not all the people of Israel. So they're always in disadvantage. Of course, King David spent some time in Philistine, learned the technology of cast iron and brought it back, and that's where Israel became a golden age at that time, where they had that technology to overcome their enemy. All right, so of course God gave them the wisdom to overcome it. So just imagine they have the sword and also the staff, the rod. And noticing that the young man went down into the valley with sword. The old man went up to the hill with the rod. And this is a picture of the people of God tackling this situation. Those who are able to go into the front line in action, and also the older ones up to the hill praying for them. Can you see the whole picture of that? I believe it is God-given strategy to tackle a spiritual battle. Older members here, I want to let you know that God has not finished with you. Many of our clergymen who are in the 60s, they say, I'm going to retire for the next 4 to 5 years. I'm happy for them, but I'm thinking of myself, wow, next 15 to 20 years. If they're going to extend enough 5 years and we can never retire. But I will join them one day. Even if you can't physically attend services, especially for those who are watching the YouTube, God has not finished with you. Your role is crucial. Your role is very, very important. You still have part to play in this community. Do you realize that you can be up the hill holding up Moses' hands? They were old men up there. Aaron was old. Moses was old. And they were up there holding up the rod of God, praying for those down below in the front line. And that's my personal notes to all of us here. You know, as Pastor Joe leads CHS into a new season, I believe this is our new season. I believe it is a season that we're filled with anticipation and excitement. This is our season. This is our moment. This is a season for the entire CHS to operate together. Young men and women, include myself, in the front lines, actively engaged. And while the older ones are praying for them from the hill. And the whole CHS united body can operate together. If you agree with me, you can shout amen. We all can work together. I remember that, many years ago, I still went back for my reservist. All of us had to go back for our in-camp training. And one particular in-camp I still remember very clearly. The CSM of the company, called the company Sergeant Major, gave a very profound speech. Very simple speech, but very profound speech at the end of our in-camp training. And he told the rest of the company, and he said that, I appreciate it for all your contribution. I know that many of you, have done your part. You gave your 90%. Some maybe gave you 50%. Some even 5%. And we know in life it's like that. If you can siam, you siam. You can hide, you hide. And for those who are in the reserve, you know. When he gave that speech, I said, wow. But yet he said that I should appreciate whatever contribution they give. So as a body, I know that we can't, it's never be perfect. Some of us maybe can give that much. But that's between you and the Lord. But I believe that, we really appreciate all that what you have given. in this community. And I appreciate, and we appreciate, I believe Pastor Joe also appreciate all your contribution here in this community. Whatever percentage you want to give. I'm not talking about tithing, okay? I talk about how much you want to contribute to build the community here in CHS. So notice that as long as Moses' hands were up, the battle went up. As soon as the hands grow tired and weak, and more help is needed, and his hands were held up by other people. That's why we come together. We support each other. And this is a picture of prayer intercession for the battle in the front line. And this is a combination. The whole body work together, and God expects us to fight. And we fight both with the sword in the practical action, and we also come with the rod of God, with prayer, which is also essential. I pray that more will join us in our morning prayer. But God doesn't see number of people. As long as you have the heart to pray, in wherever you are, God hears us. So as the congregation steps up into this new season, God expects everyone to fight together. The challenge is clear. Let us roll up our sleeves spiritually. Think and ask the Lord what to pray. I often say prayer is a hard work. It's easier when you just list down all our prayer pointer and just show it to God. God, please, this is our prayer pointer. You fulfill our prayer pointer. It's easier to do this way. But it's harder to really ask the Lord what you want us to pray. It's harder to do it. Last week I just had the meeting, and I was a minority among the majority. So at the end of the meeting, asked me to pray for them. I said, oh, I'm the minority. How to pray? So I scratched my head. Lord, what you want me to pray? It's easier to just close in prayer for the meeting. It's not easier to pray. But we want to ask the Lord what you want to pray. And the key word here was spoken to me was just prayer for unity. So as we contemplate how God guides us, His people through the wilderness, next question, the last question we need to ask is, what lesson can we learn from Jethro's counsel to Moses about the importance of community and dedication in our journey with God? That's an important question. And notice one thing. They had won their battles with enemies outside. But they were now losing the battles between themselves. Do you realize it? Remember, a lot of people have been slaves for years, for generations. They're always told what to do by someone else. And now they were free and they were able to do what they wished. So the result was that they stepping on each other's toes, rubbing each other's shoulders, crossing each other's, and they were arguing. They had their freedom of God, but now disputing with each other in fighting. Nothing new. We all experience it one way or the other. So Moses was trying to keep everyone happy. Poor Moses. He was their senior pastor or leaders or captain, and he was trying to settle every of their differences. He was trying his best. And he worked 24/7, or at least from morning to evening, every day trying to keep the community together. I don't want to be like Moses. I put that kind of situation. So just imagine his father-in-law, Jethro, got worried about it. Maybe he worried that his daughter for not getting much attention from Moses. No family life. What? 7 days a week. So he told Moses, the way that you work, it will burn you out sooner. And not just you, but the people as well, because they had to hang around and to get the appointment from you, maybe it'll take weeks. Disputed could grow larger. Misunderstanding snowball. This will get worse. So recognizing the unsustainable nature of this arrangement, Moses took advice from his father-in-law. He tackled the basic problem of how to keep all the people happy with one another. One man could not possibly do it. So how did he do? He appointed I did some calculation. Based on 600,000 able men in that population, he needs 78,600 leaders to do his job. That's a lot. One for every 1,000, one for every 100, and one for every 50, one for every 10. Every 10 people will then have someone to look after them pastorally. I believe that is a very sensible arrangement. 10 people. Just imagine, just take out about maybe 5 couples in one group. And because 10 people can always feel they have someone they could get hold of immediately. And that those people who each have 10, they look after 10, but they also have someone above them who look after them as well. They are not being left alone. So that's why they have 50s, 5 people who look after the 10s. So one person looking after those 5, and he appointed one for every 5 people, and one person look after those 5, and then you got to build up, then this way you have hundreds and thousands, and Moses needed about 5 levels to cope adequately with the number. 8,600 leaders, based on 60,000 able men. So I did calculation also. Don't throw away your maths. You still make full use of it. Not just only count money, but this kind of things you can do some calculation. 1,000, a leader to look 1,000, he needs 600 leaders. For leaders of 1,000. For the leaders of 100, he needs 6,000 leaders. For the leaders of 50, he needs 12,000 leaders. For leaders of 10, a cell group of 10, he needs 60,000 cell leaders. And with that settled, everyone gets straight through to someone with their needs. If the needs are complicated, they will pass on to the one above them. And this way, everyone involved in community, everyone involved. It's an ideal case that every one of us can involve in this, and what has God given to us. Now, how many people would suffer if it remained one-man band? And the things will not be dealt with as they should be. So with this divine common sense, he set a pattern. And this way, things went right. Moses had his family life. Everyone was happy. In closing, I want you to look at Jethro. Let's just zoom our focus back to this man, Moses' father-in-law. He was a sensible man, a godly man. That's what we are told. A man who rejoiced in everything that God was doing for his people. A man who glad to hear all that God has done through Moses and for Moses. But he never got to the promised land. He was a man who never left Egypt either. He rejoiced in what God was doing, yet he never fully identified himself with the people of God. Never went along with them. That's why he was a man who comes into the story and fades out. And one of the tragedies is in every church are the men or women who are glad to have their children in our Sunday school, in our children ministry, in youth ministry, in whatever ministry whichever involved, but yet they're glad to hear all that God is doing in our midst. Yet they're helping out people, contribute in a certain sense, but yet never fully identify and never get right into the people of God. So the tragedy is that when Canaan is reached, those men might not be there. So friends, as you had journeyed through the wilderness experiences of the people of Israel, you see how God's constant presence sustains and guides us. And that despite all the challenges that we face, God often be there for us. But today, as we stand at the threshold encounter with God, I want to extend this invitation to each one of you. Perhaps you find yourself in a spiritual wilderness, dry and weary from the journey. Maybe you are facing trials and uncertainties that seem insurmountable. Perhaps you have been wandering, feeling disconnected from God and His people. But here's the good news. Just as God provided for the people of Israel in the wilderness, just as He guided them through the battles they faced, just as He strengthened them through counsel and community, God stands ready to do the same for you today. But if you find yourself in need of provision, whether physically, emotionally, or spiritually, God is here to quench your thirst and satisfy your hunger. If you are seeking guidance through the uncertainties of life, God is here. He's here to illuminate your path and lead you forward. But if you are longing for strength and support, God is here to surround you with a community of believers who will walk alongside with you. We are not perfect. We'll try our best, and we will be there for you. So as we're going to sing the song, All the Heavens, shall we stand together? I want to invite you to respond as we sing this song. Would you lay your burdens at the feet of Jesus? Whether you need provision, guidance, and strength, or simply renewed sense of presence, I will remind you, God is here. A sense of His presence. He is here to meet you. So want to encourage you to respond to His word. Let's journey this together as a church, and trusting in His constant presence in every step of the way. Shall we sing the song as so they lead us?